Pouring concrete yourself can be an intimidating process. In this video, we'll walk you through the slab pouring process so you get it right the first time. To begin, you will need to make sure you're working on a level surface. Your concrete slab will last longer with less cracking and movement if it's built on solid, well-drained soil. If you have sandy soil, you're in luck. Just scrape off the sod and topsoil and add gravel fill where it's needed. After you've created a decently level surface, you'll want to create a form. The slab thickness you're building will determine what lumber you use for your forms. Here we are pouring a 4-inch slab, so we'll be using 2x4s. Attach your form boards together at the corners to build a solid square or rectangle frame. Before staking, you'll want to square up the frame you have built. To do this, we're using the Pythagorean method. Start by holding your tape measure in one corner and mark 3 feet on one of the sides. Rotate your tape measure 90 degrees and mark 4 feet on the other side. Now, measure between the 2 points you've made. If the measurement between the 2 marks is 5 feet, your frame is square. Starting on one side of your frame, begin installing either wood or metal stakes, placing them 2 or 3 feet apart on all sides. Next, you'll want to determine the height of your slab. Simply pick an elevation at one corner and attach the stakes to the frame with a nail. From there, using a level, work your way around the frame, leveling and attaching the stakes as you go. Once your forms are level and attached, you'll want to start grading the inside of your forms. Place a screed on the top of the form boards and use a tape measure to measure downward. You'll want to check in about 2 or 3 spots to make sure the area is even to the depth of your pour. Use a tamper to smooth out the base once the slab area is leveled. To reinforce the concrete, you'll want to install steel rebar into your pour. You can find rebar at home centers and suppliers of concrete products. Additionally, you'll need twist ties to connect the rebar. Cut and lay out pieces about 2 feet apart in both length and width directions, tying the rebar together at the intersections. Now it's time to pour. In preparation for pouring, make sure you have the proper safety gear for the job, as wet concrete on skin can cause everything from mild redness to 3rd-degree, permanently disfiguring chemical burns. You'll want rubber boots and rubber gloves to make sure you don't come in direct contact. Using a wheelbarrow to transport the concrete to the slab area, pour the concrete in small sections, spreading out the concrete evenly with the placer and a touch higher than the form. You won't want to fill the whole form at once. The mound of extra concrete generated when screeding would become too heavy and cause major issues. When screeding, drag the screed across the top of the concrete forms to level the concrete. You may have to make several passes to create a flat, evenly filled area. After you've filled and screeded the entire form, you'll want to use a bull float to smooth the surface. The goal is to remove marks left by screeding and fill the low spots to create a flat, level surface. Bull floating also forces larger aggregate further beneath the surface. 3 or 4 passes with the bull float is usually sufficient. Too much floating can weaken the surface by drawing up too much water and concrete. Now, you'll want to use an edger to round the edges of the form. Work the edger until the edge is smooth and solid. The concrete should be firm before you start edging, and longer strokes typically result in straighter lines. You may need to go back over the surface with the hand float if the edger leaves a line. If your pour is longer than 10 feet, you'll need to cut in a control joint to prevent cracking. This can be done with a groover if the concrete is wet, or a saw if the concrete is dry. To create a non-slip surface, you'll need to finish the slab with a broom. You'll want to shoot for a rough enough finish to create traction, but not rough enough to hurt if walking on bare feet. To order any of the tools used in this video, visit Marshalltown.com or your local Marshalltown retailer.